Everyone, welcome. Now, today I'm going to talk about the differences between the Sony A95L and the brand new Samsung S95C. There is some difference because I know people will ask, what's the difference between these two QD-OLED TVs that are on the market right now? Literally. They just launched these TVs barely a week or so back, and these two companies are already going head to head, and it's going to be a big battle to see who comes out on top. So let's start out with the specs that you get with the S95C if you want to get the S95C. First of all, it's coming in three sizes. You will get 55 inches, 65 inches, and 77 inches. Then when you compare it against the A95L, that model also will come in these same three sizes. So there isn't any bigger size than 77 inches. And then you go on to the next thing, which is the fact that the special features on the A95L is that you're going to get an aluminum stand. But when you now compare it against the Samsung model, you're not going to get any aluminum stand with the Samsung model. You're not going to get that. But one thing you will get is one connect box with the S95C. The S95C comes with a one connect box that hides away all your cables and makes it very flush. In fact, for you to use that Samsung TV, you will be very happy. You wouldn't want to trade it for anything. And that's something a lot of people will like, honestly, in their home cinema, rather than having maybe a stand, maybe aluminum stand to have it placed on a desk. But one thing I like about the Sony is that because of the fact it's coming with an aluminum stand, you can use it with a regular TV stand in your house. You don't need to mount it on the wall. A Samsung makes you kind of like mount your TV rather than just place it on a stand because of the design. But that's just the slight difference. And then the next thing is the fact that the Sony A95L is coming with Bravia Cores calibrated mode, pretty much a PS5 features. There is also going to be a built-in microphone for voice control on the A95L. Then when you compare it against the S95C, the S95C is going to come with a Game Bar 3.0. It's going to have wireless Dolby Atmos support as well, and better, pretty much almost a better viewing angle because it's coming with this ultra viewing angle tech in with it as well. And the Samsung S95C will come with ATSC 3.0, pretty much for the US market, and then it will also have a DVB T2 S2C, which is for Europe as well. That's a bit of the difference between the two. In fact, if you check the Sony as well, it has the same thing. The ATSC 3.0 for the US market as well, and the same DVB for the European market. And another thing again is that both model have compatibility for Wi-Fi, for Wi-Fi 5. No, the Samsung has Wi-Fi 5 support, while the Sony has support for the latest Wi-Fi 6. So if you need a TV that has the latest Wi-Fi support, you might have to go for the Sony. The Sony has Wi-Fi 6, while the Samsung have the older Wi-Fi 5. Now, as for Bluetooth technology, both have Bluetooth 5.2 each, so you're not going to get any difference in Bluetooth technology. Both have Bluetooth 5.2 each, and both are also Visa compatible. That's what you get. Now, the other thing again is the resolution support. Both are 4K resolution. Both support 4K resolution, and not only that, you will have a cognitive processor XR on the Sony TV, while the Samsung has this neural quantum processor 4K. That's what you get on the Samsung. Now, both come with the latest HDMI 2.1 standard. The number of HDMIs you get is literally HDMI 2.1 ports. And it's the same with the Sony and the Samsung. They're both coming with two HDMI 2.1 ports. The other thing again is the fact that the Samsung supports 4K at 144 hertz refresh rate. It supports a regular HDR10 as well. If you look at the Sony, it does 4K at 120 hertz rather than 144 hertz. So that's the difference. Sony has a resolution of 4K at 120 hertz, while while the Samsung S95C have the resolution at 4K at 144 hertz. So this is the major difference between these two TVs. And the next thing I know a lot of people will ask is whether they'll both support variable refresh rate. Yes, they support variable refresh rate, but the thing here is that the Sony only supports your regular your regular HDMI variable refresh rate, whereas the Samsung supports not only variable refresh rate, it supports free sync, and I think the Samsung is better equipped for gamers. If you game a lot, you need to get the Samsung over the Sony. The Samsung is better than the Sony for game because it supports more gaming features than the Sony. The Samsung also supports auto low latency mode. The same with the Sony. That's something you have to look at. Both support auto low latency mode. Another thing, again, the Samsung supports is CEC. Sony also supports the same CEC. But one thing Sony doesn't support is filmmaker mode. The Samsung S95C supports filmmaker mode. The Sony does not support filmmaker mode. But the Samsung does not support HGIG. It doesn't support HGIG, whereas the Sony supports HGIG. You see the difference? There's a difference between these two brands. It depends on really what you're looking for in your TV. So it's very critical you know the difference between these two TVs before you get your hands on it. Another thing again is that in terms of audio, Samsung comes with the Acoustic Surface Audio Plus. This is something they've had in their previous OLED TVs and even in their much more flagship TVs. But this new acoustic surface audio technology is a lot better than what they've had in the past. The TV will vibrate, the screen will vibrate, and create a phantom image of sound. The sound is much more engaging from the TV itself. It's almost like as if you have a very powerful soundbar. But one thing Samsung did to rival Sony in this technology is to include a 70 watts 4.2.2 channel sound system in their TV. As slim as their TV is, they included this. They made sure they included a 4.2.2 channel speaker system with their TV. So that's something that you have to know before you get any of these two TVs. If you need a TV that has a vibrating screen when it produces sound, you can get the Sony. If you don't want that, you get the Samsung that has a very powerful speaker system with it, because 70 watts is quite powerful, especially when it's coming directly from the TV. So the other thing again is both TV supports HDMI ARC, both supports HDMI ERC. In terms of Dolby Audio, they both support Dolby Atmos. And all the Dolby standards. So they all support it. Even Dolby AC4 both supports it. They don't have issue with that. The other thing again is that DTS digital surround is supported on the Sony A95L. It's not supported on the Samsung S95C. So if you buy the S95C, just know you're not going to get DTS support. There is no DTS:X support on this S95C. So if you need DTS support, you need to get yourself the Sony A95L. It has Dolby Digital Surround support. It doesn't have DTS:X support, but it does have Dolby, sorry, DTS digital surround. That's what it has. Now, in terms of HDR format support, because that's another key factor and difference between these two TV, is the fact that the Sony supports your regular HDR10. It doesn't support HDR10 plus, whereas the Samsung brand supports regular HDR10, HDR10 plus, and HLG. But if you now flip back to the Sony, it supports HLG and Dolby Vision. Dolby Vision is not on the Samsung, and that's a big problem because a lot of content as we speak are in Dolby Vision. A lot of people even game in Dolby Vision. So if you game or watch movies in Dolby Vision, you need to buy the Sony. It's as simple as that. You just have to buy the Sony. You don't have to buy any other thing other than the Sony, because when you need Dolby Vision is on the Sony. If you do not need Dolby Vision and you can manage HDR10 plus, you can then get the S95C. It's more or less like your choice. The other thing again is that both TVs don't support advanced HDR. They don't support advanced HDR. uh it's something that both don't support. Look, if you hook up anything to the USB to play back, most of they support almost everything. You can play through them, like MPEG for HEVC. There is VP9 decoding. There is AV1 decoding. The only thing both of them don't have is VVC decoding. So that's the only thing they don't have. Now, in terms of OS, the Sony A95L is coming with Google TV as its OS, and the Google TV allows you to do what they call OS updates. The problem is that if you get the Samsung, you're gonna get Tizen OS, and the version you're getting is 7.0. If you get that, and another thing again is the fact that the OS update on this Tizen is not available, so you cannot update the OS. It's just basically once you get the TV, it's going to be stuck on that 7.0, and that's it. You can't update, you can't do anything. The Sony A95L supports Chromecast. There is no Chromecast support on the Samsung S95C. Apple AirPlay 2 is on both TVs. HomeKit is on the Sony A95L. It's not on the Samsung S95C. The other thing, like voice assistance, is on both TV. The only difference is that the Sony supports Google Assistant and Alexa. You won't get, you will only get Bixby, Google Assistant, and Alexa on the Samsung. I think if it is other things like streaming apps, both TV support everything, like Amazon Prime Video, Apple TV app, Disney Plus, HBO Max, Hulu, Netflix, and YouTube. It's on all these two TVs, so there isn't much of a difference in that regard. Now, in terms of the specs, finally, just to round off, from what I've seen already, I can categorically say that the Sony is slightly better because it has more support to some things that a lot of consumers will want to have on their TV. So if you are one of the consumers that want more features on the TV, like Dolby Vision support, the latest Wi-Fi 6, a lot more features, and even for the fact that you can update the OS. The Google TV it's coming with is updatable. I think you should be looking at the A95L. It makes a lot of sense, and I suspect when this TV pricing does come out, it's going to be more expensive by far than the S95C. I don't even think it even matters about picture quality now, because both might be on the same level in terms of picture quality, but it's more or less about what you can get all round with a TV. The features, I think the Sony is a better TV overall in this features department. Plus, it's coming with a heat sink. I forgot to mention that when I announced the TV. The Sony A95 95L does come with it does come with a heatsink, so no matter how you use it, the TV is going to perform very well, and it's not going to overheat or have any issue using it long term, and no matter how bright it gets, you're not going to have issues like that. So I'm going to drop details for these two TVs in the description. If you want to see specs for each of them, check it out. Subscribe to the channel, like our content. I'll see everyone very much next time.